I think the most important skill that you can have is being able to reframe reality. And I say this because I had a very good friend of mine this year say something to me, and it was really powerful, and it's been top of mind since he said it. He said, "You're Alex Hormozi. You can get away with whatever you want as long as you frame it right." And I really thought a lot about that, and I've brought that perspective to a lot of the conversations, a lot of the difficult things I've had to go through this year. It reminds me of a quote from Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book A Man's Search for Meaning, which he wrote while he was in the concentration camps during the Holocaust, and he survived, or he wrote about that time period. And one of the things that he said is, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." If you think about that, the why is the reframe for dealing with the how. How can I frame this difficult thing, this thing that I'm about to go through, or that I just went through? How can I reframe that? In what world would this be an amazing thing? In what world where when I tell this story 40, 50 years from now, would I be like, this is a pivot point for me. I had to have this origin story in order to get to where I wanted to go, or to become the type of person I wanted to be. These have been some of the mental reframes that I've used on some of the harder days that I've had. So this year I had a gigantic bill come out of nowhere. So it was a multi-8-figure bill that was required to get paid in 72 hours in cash. I, thankfully had that available to me, but I had obviously different plans for that money than dealing with this gigantic bill that I had to all of a sudden pay within 72 hours. Basically, the moment between when I got the news to me paying it to then kind of reflecting back, because it almost felt so fast, where it was like, I've got all these plans, and then boom, this happens, and then 72 hours later, it's like, wow, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do kind of moving forward from this? And there's this great quote by Marcus Aurelius, which is, "What are you so afraid of losing when nothing in this world belongs to you?" And I really thought a lot about that, which it's like, I can't take it with me in the end. And so being sad about losing something that was never really mine anyways, like I'm going to have to push all my chips to the middle of the board when the game's over. I'm going to have to cash my chips, and somebody else, other people are going to distribute my chips when I die. And so it's like, I'm really just a steward of these chips. I'm just renting these chips for a minute. To be upset and to ruin the one thing that is finite, which is the present moment, for something that actually doesn't affect how I live. So this is the second piece. This is actually kind of a utilitarian perspective that really helped me. By losing that money, I asked myself, what does this change about what I do? What does this change about my life? It doesn't change the food I eat. It doesn't change where I live. It doesn't change where I work. It doesn't change what I do. It actually changes nothing. All it changed was just like, in my mind, I had an expectation of the future that changed. That was it. And I said, okay, because of this thing that existed in my mind, I am choosing to punish myself for not having seen this, or not paying attention, or whatever number of reasons I could blame myself for. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so you just get to pick how long you want to beat yourself up for. I was like, well, what am I so afraid of losing if nothing in this world belongs to me? This wasn't mine to begin with. And so that really kind of helped me quell that kind of negative thought pattern pretty quickly. So there's, to put a little comedic spin on this, Mark Twain, which has some of the best quotes like ever, by the way. He said, "I've lived through many terrible tragedies. Only some of them actually happened." And so it's like, most of us suffer almost exclusively in our minds. I found it helpful when I'm in a bad season, like I am right now. To be fair, I don't try to like put big labels on things, but I guess I'm just giving myself a little bit of grace. But to just focus on having a good day. And so it's like, okay, even though this is a bad season, I'm going to have a good day in a bad season. It's kind of like a bite-sized victory. And if I start stringing enough of those good days in a row, I'm going to turn a bad season back into a good season. And it makes it feel a little less bad, because I feel like I'm making progress. I heard this bit by Bill Ackman, who was like getting sued. He was going through divorce. He just lost $4 billion in Perishing Square for his capital. So he was like, honestly, all of this happened at the same time. And he realized all these projects were these big, massive things, which is a lot of kind of the stuff I'm dealing with right now. They're not like, okay, I had a bad day. They're like things that just they last and they prolong, right? And he said, you just got a little bit done every day. That's it. He's like, you just got to make a little bit of progress every day. And kind of like compounding and investing, it's like you don't see it in a day or two or a week or two. It's like, but you look back at 30 days, you're like, all right, I moved the ball a little bit. You look back on 90, you're like, all right, I made some progress. And it's just like, if you have big goals, you're also going to have equally large obstacles. And so you can't assume that, oh, my big goals are going to take many, many years, and that the obstacles that I have to maneuver around are going to happen overnight. Sometimes obstacles that you have to maneuver around might take a year or multiple years to get around. And so you have to be able to manage your headspace and basically keep your internal combustion engine going during those harder times. And so it's kind of like a monkey swinging from good moment to good moment. Because even going from bad season to good day, you can even have bad day and good moment. So I was trying to thought, okay, today was a shitty day. Fine. What good moments did I have? And by focusing on the moments, when I look back on my life, you forget most of your life. Like if we're being real, like you can't recall most of your life. Most people can't even recall what they ate like 3 days ago. But you can have the moments. And so the moments when I think about at the end of my life looking backwards, those are the only things I'm really going to remember. I just want to make sure that I take those down. Feels like a bad season now. I can try and forget most of the bad stuff and just try and remember the good moments. In retrospect, I can have rose-colored glasses when it comes to this season.